How you doing, Raquel?
I am doing fantastic on a beautiful sunny day. No better day to talk about gratitude than how happy I am to see the sun for the first time. It's
The
been
sun
super
is
rainy
out.
over here.
Miss Eton and I just took a walk around campus. It was so much better than the 4 or 5 days of cold rain we've been getting. So yeah, a big improvement for sure. Now that it is February, it's the season of love and gratitude and all those things right before Valentine's Day. Perfect time to talk about thank you note writing. So this is one of the important elements of our strategic plan that was adopted last summer, that we're going to implement better gratitude practices statewide. And one of the easiest and most effective ways of doing that is through writing thank you notes. So let's talk about how to write a thank you note today for those of us either who have never done it or who might need a refresher. So first off, Raquel, as the foundation director, please tell us, why are thank you notes so important?
Unfortunately, thank you notes are very important because they stand out. Unfortunately, most people nowadays don't think of gratitude the way that they should, and it's more of an afterthought. They get what they need and they move on to the next thing because we're in a fast-paced world. Thank you notes and tangibles of gratitude, being thankful and having something to show that you're thankful that's outside of a gift is very unique nowadays. And so being able to give someone a item of thanks is novel and will help you stand out as an individual. It's also a great practice, not just in terms of nonprofit work like what I do it in, but even as an individual, writing thank you notes for gifts, or for example, a lot of students who graduate or are, graduating seniors, they write thank you gifts or thank you notes for their graduation gifts. It's a great practice to take, not just whenever you happen to be a senior graduating, but throughout your life.
Yep, I agree. And it's a habit that you have to create. I know that those of us on state staff, we've been working to better develop that habit. If you've participated in a state CDE or LDE at any point this year, you've probably gotten thank you notes at the end of that event to write. We're going to do more of them. If you've gotten a proficiency award over the last many years, you get those thank you notes in the mail that you have to fill out in order to get your check. But we want to make sure that we do those better this year, that they're well written, that they're purposeful, and that they're having an impact on these people that are donating lots of money to keep our program operating. So definitely why we want to push for that this year. So Raquel, if I sit down and I start to write a thank you note, what are the key parts of a thank you note?
Right. So that's why I think people don't do them, is because they think, well, I'm not a good writer. I don't have good handwriting. And so I can't do a thank you note and it won't make a positive impact if I scribble something down. And you're right. If you're just going to scribble some words down and not take time to think about it, it may not be best for you to write a thank you note. But the good news is that, especially if you practice, it's super easy and it comes from the heart once you know what you're doing. The key aspects of the key aspects of a thank you note are going to be the first line, right? So you start with the name of the person that you would hope to be receiving it. If you don't know, you could always put to whom it may concern, but a little bit of research goes a long way. You can usually figure out exactly who you're sending it to, as well as the date. Now, the date is important. Usually it's at the top, like right-hand corner, just like a school project might be. And the date's important because it helps to jog the person's memory as to what they might be referring to. But also, like for me, when I receive personalized thank you notes, I keep them as mementos. Not everybody does that, but as you look back on your career and think about the people that you've mentored or helped along the way, it's always nice to have a date reference in mind for your career. So name of the person and the date that you're writing the note, comma after the name and some space. I'm doing some formatting here. You're going to start with the easiest thing in the world. Thank you. You don't have to get super creative, but you can. I always like to do it something along the lines of, I wanted to take a moment to thank you for. Now, you could just write thank you, but saying that you want to take a moment, or saying something like, having just got back from my trip to nationals, or an opening line that shows that you were thinking about the person, that this isn't something that you have to do, that it's something that you want to do. So you say thank you for whatever they did, the trip to nationals, or my graduation gift, or the sponsorship of my CDE. And also, don't just put CDE, put my poultry evaluation CDE, or my meats evaluation CDE, or my extemporaneous speaking CDE. You're going to write exactly what it is that they did for you, because again, they might be doing a lot of similar things, and the individual impact it has is important. So a thank you, and for the very specific thing that they did for you. The next sentence is going to be the impact that it made. So again, it goes back to exactly what they gifted to you, or the impact that they made. For some people, it might be that the investment that you made in my CDE allowed me to spend more time studying, and because of you, we were able to place third in the nation. So a causation and an outcome is something that's important, especially when you want their support to be continued. And it gives them an update, right? They may not follow you on Instagram. They may not follow you on TikTok. So them knowing how you did is relevant to them. And it may be the only way, you writing a thank you note may be the only way that they hear about it. And then the last sentence, so now you've had your introductory sentence, your impact sentence, your closing sentence, which is your third sentence, is going to be a greater outlook. So your commitment to Louisiana FFA, not just the CDE, but the whole foundation, right? Your commitment to Louisiana FFA has the impact, or is making an impact on 11,000 students across the state. So again, their individual donation may have gone to you, but the commitment of them and people like them, and the culture of that generosity that we are trying to foster at the FFA Foundation is impactful. And it's something that they need to know, that they're part of a greater body. It's not just one person giving to one event, but there are quite literally hundreds of people donating to these functions. And they're a part of an elite group of people, of supporters and alumni. And we need them to know that they're a part of a club in themselves. So, a sentence about the greater impact that they're making. And then close with something simple or creative. You can always say, thank you, and then a comma, and then sign your name. Don't print it, sign it. Or you can get creative. I like to sprinkle in the creed wherever I can. So either at some point in my thank you notes, I always sprinkle in the creed. In that inspiring task, Raquel Manuel, or somewhere in the 3 sentences that you're working with. Now, you may be a really confident writer, and you may want to add 5 sentences instead of 3. That's totally okay if you feel confident. I would just always recommend that try writing out what you want to say on a separate sheet of paper, or even better, type it into a computer so that you can get some spell check and some grammar seen about, and then copy it down, especially if it's one of your first times doing it. It's super simple, easy way to make sure you don't mess up. And the messing up is okay. You just start over. But yeah, as you get more and more comfortable with writing thank you notes, they can get longer and more detailed and more impactful. But that's the simplest way, 3 sentences.
Sounds pretty easy. Not too much to it. Obviously, you want to do this on nice stationery. We don't want you to just rip a sheet of paper and grab something old. If you need to look for thank you notes, you can purchase these from National FFA. Obviously, they've got an FFA emblem on them. On the inside, they've got an FFA logo also there that you would write on. So this is a good way to do it. But if you can't purchase from FFA.org, if you don't have that kind of money, you can get these really cheap from the dollar store, from Walmart. Just find some nicer stationery in order to write them on.
Yes, Dollar Tree. They don't have to say thank you on the front. You can even draw in the front yourself. There are a lot of solutions, and very affordable solutions. Every Walmart has a basic thank you note. And it's good. We talked about creating a habit of gratitude and a attitude of gratitude. So having thank you notes or basic notes on hand to show gratitude and in your life moving forward is a really good professional practice. And so I always keep blank thank you notes or blank note cards all the time, just to, tell people I'm thinking of them. Yep. Postcards are a great option for that too.
Right. Raquel, is it ever acceptable to send a thank you note via email?
Oh, that's so easy, isn't it? It would be so easy. I don't have to worry about spelling the word right because Google helps me with that. Yes, but as I said in the very beginning, Thank you notes are important because they're novel. They're not something that, well, they're not necessarily new. They used to be a lot more popular, but they're just not as popular as they were. So if you throw an email together, you can do it in the exact same format that I just listed, and it can and will make an impact, probably. But you have to remember your audience, both when you're writing it by hand and by email. And if it's someone who's a corporate sponsor, or even someone who works in an academic, you were a teacher, so you know, in an academic profession, they're getting dozens of emails a day. And so your email will probably get read, but the more emails that that person's getting in their inbox often correlates with how important they are. And if they're getting 100 emails a day, you're actually become a chore to have to see about the email. They probably won't respond to you either way. So it's quicker, it's more convenient, and it saves you 55 cents on a stamp, but it's not going to make the same amount of impact. So I would say, you know, if you have to choose between one or the other, do a handwritten note. But if you can't for whatever reason, or maybe you only have an email, something like that, you don't have an address to send them to, or maybe they said, email me your contact information. That would be a good way to do it. If they specifically reach out to you saying, hey, can you email me? Here's my card. That would be a perfectly good reason to email them. And when you email them, make sure you have a really good signature on your email. So you're not going to handwrite your signature. When I say signature, I mean your name, your school, your contact information, your email, your phone numbers. Some of you, depending on what you want to do, you might have your Instagram profile or whatever. A lot of people are doing that. So that's a good way to stay in contact with them long term. But if you think this is just going to be a one-time thing and you're not trying to establish a long-term relationship with this individual, a handwritten email again is the way to go. Hey, but if they're asking you to write an email, or if you want a long-term relationship, maybe you want to work for this person one day, a digital email is the way to go, because then you can have that paper trail, literally, well, figuratively anyway.
And very quickly, just in case anyone no longer uses the postal service to send things, whenever you take your letter, you take your note, stick it in an envelope that fits the size of it, put your address in the top left corner with your name. Right in the center is the person's name and their address, and the stamp goes in the top right. Make sure the stamp is enough in order to send the letter. A forever stamp will work. If you go to the post office and you say, look, 2-cent stamps, I'm going to save some money, you try to put a 2-cent stamp, it's not going to be sent. So make sure you have the proper postage on the envelope whenever you send it.
Yeah. And then also another you just reminded me, okay, I've written this great letter, and I put it in an envelope, but how am I supposed to know this person's address, right? Like, I'm not going to send it to their house, am I? And how do I know where their house, like, that's weird, right? And maybe that's another aversion to thank you notes. It's like, I don't want the person to think I'm stalking them. I don't know where they live. Like, okay, most businesses have a business address where they get mail like that. And if they don't have a business address, they have a PO box. So, do some Google sleuthing. Usually if it's a business, they have a big PO box, and then their mail house directs the mail to who it needs to go. So make sure you put the person's full name at the top. And if you're really not sure and you just can't find the information you need to find, contact the FFA Foundation. Chances are we have their address on file, and we'd be more than happy to share it with you.
Perfect. So, Raquel, I want to thank you for spending some time with us here today and talking about thank you notes. If anyone has questions, Raquel, about thank you note writing or anything else related to gratitude and the foundation work, how can people reach you?
Well, you can write me a note, just scribble a note. You can email me, because I'd love to establish a long-term relationship with you. You can email me. My email is super simple. It's Raquel. You see it right there. Raquel, RAQUEL at LAFFA.org. You can also call the FFA Foundation. I'll pick up. It's 225-341-9610. And that's how you can ask more detailed questions. I love to empower and mentor the students of FFA. I think that we have a unique student body that can do great things through gratitude.
Thank you, Raquel. Go enjoy the nice weather we've been having.
I will. Thank you.
Bye.